Sounds good. Well, I will get the meeting started at 6:35 p.m. on February 1st. The first item is the approval of the agenda, which everybody should have received and is also on Becky's screen as well. So is there a motion to approve the agenda?
I so move.
Okay, is there a
I
second?
second.
Since I figured it out.
Okay. All in favor of approval of the agenda, say aye.
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 All opposed, the same sign. Okay, moving on to the approval of the minutes of the January 4th meeting. All the district advisory board members should have received those via email. Are there any corrections? And if there isn't, is there approval for the minutes from January 4th?
Laura, I'll move to approve the minutes.
Okay, Laura approved. I saw Alex's hand. I'll take that as a second. Okay, all in favor of approval of the minutes, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, the same sign. Okay, fantastic. We'll go on to staff reports. Is there somebody from Wichita Fire? I didn't have a chance to scroll through.
Yes.
From Wichita Fire. Great.
Yes, Jason Jones, Battalion 2 from Wichita Fire. I can give you my report first if you want me to, that way I can sneak over to DAB 5.
That would be great. Thanks for coming, Jason.
Okay, so if you're not familiar with me, I'm been out here in Battalion 2 for just a few months now. I think I came over here in November. And so I hadn't ever really worked out to the west side. I come from the Corps area. I've been serving since 1990. I've been a battalion chief for a couple of years now. I was battalion out east and then downtown and now out here. So I have some data from our investigation unit, and you guys had 4 fires that they investigated this month of January. The most significant fire was in 1900 block South Vine. It had about a $58,000 damage. Looks like I don't think it was determined to be accidental. We had another fire in a vacant building downtown. I can't remember the address of that, over there by Lawrence Dumont. I think that's you guys's. And there wasn't any value of that because it's getting ready to be tore down the next day anyways. Then we had a little rash of garage and shed fires in the Seneca corridor there, and then one over there on Merton. And they were both minimal damage, unless it's your shed, obviously, or garage. But the value was $10,000 and $5,000 respective. So, but those 2 are undetermined at this point, still being investigated by the investigation unit. So, not too bad a month, really. We had 18 total fires that were investigated in the whole city that month. So, you guys had 4. So, not too bad of a month for us. So do you guys have any questions for me?
Questions for Captain Jones?
Chief Jones.
Chief.
That's right, Chief. Oh, geez, don't forget that.
Seeing none, thank you for being with us, Chief, and have fun at the District 5 Advisory Board.
Okay, thank
Actually,
you.
Sorry, I didn't know if it's open to board members first and then the public, or sorry, hey, Chief Jones, it's Tristan Block here.
Uh-huh.
So I just wanted to address have you address the Squad 17 situation, and I mean, has there been any determination as far as the efficacy so far of having a 4th on truck 4 over having taken Squad 17 off track? Any numbers? And I guess actually my first question was, do you have the overall alarm numbers for what District 4 was for the past month?
I don't have the overall alarm numbers for the whole month for District 4, and I don't have any new data. I know I listened in on a meeting that you guys had in December, I think,
Yep.
or January, where Chief Snow came on, and I don't have any additional data on that that's been provided to us. I know there's still we're still riding 4 on truck 4, and then squad 17 is still off track. So they're still gathering that data. And from what I've been advised, that's going to go on for a while. So I'm not sure that there's any newness to report on that since Chief Snow addressed the DAB board.
All right. Well, I appreciate that information. I know as I continue to talk to people and business owners and developers in this area, there are a lot of people who are unhappy about it. And I think that's just going to kind of continue to go on. And I'm certainly, as I'm sure you are very well aware, as I think I've turned into my own personal COVID within the fire department.
I hadn't heard that, so I guess that's, but I am
I'm
glad to hear a lot of things. But no, I will certainly mention it in my report to Chief Snow and Deputy Chief Pavelski that is still a concern to the DAB, and that we did touch base with it again. And I will, I'm not sure who's on next month, but if we have anything additional data or anything like that, we can gather some additional data, and I'll get the next month. I'll be sure and see if we can get the total alarms for the district out for you guys to be reported on. Okay.
Appreciate your time, Chief. Thank you.
No problem. You guys have a good evening. I'm going to sneak over to DAB 5. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you, Chief. And Tristan, thank you for that. If there's I'll open up to DAB and then open to the general public, but thank you for catching that and hopping in. Now we'll move on to the Wichita Police Department. Is there anybody from Patrol South or Patrol West that wants to go first?
I can go first from Patrol West. This is Officer Tejeda, T-E-J-E-D-A. The community police officer for 16 beat, which is Central and Tyler, Maple and Tyler, Central and Ridge, that area. We don't have a lot going on other than still the catalytic converters, but that's citywide. We're having a huge problem with that citywide. We're documenting, and we have databases for the locations. I mean, just so we can find some type of common denominator. Last month, we did arrest somebody for stealing. We just got lucky, and officers were in the area, and we arrested him for stealing a catalytic converter. I don't know where that case is right now, but that's always going to be a hot topic until some laws are changed about what we can do, how much teeth we got in the ordinance. So also, I wanted to touch base. Last year, at the end of last year, we started having Second Chance Thursdays, which gave people who had misdemeanor traffic warrants the opportunity to get that taken care of without going to jail. They would go to the CP office at 5803 West Central. And as long as they had the misdemeanor traffic, we would verify they are who they are. And they only have a small warrant or a misdemeanor warrant, and then we'd give them a court date. There would be no fines, there'd be no penalties with us. We would just give them a court date, as opposed to an alternative would be getting arrested on a car stop because they had a misdemeanor traffic warrant. Well, we could take care of that at Patrol West, and we're doing that in February. We're going to be doing that again. Our first one this year will be February 11th from, I believe, 3 to 10 p.m. at the community police office. And there'll be more advertisements about that the closer we get along to it. So that is really all that I have. That's hot right now.
Are there any questions from anybody on the DAB?
I have a question, I guess. This is Grant. He said until they get the rules changed or whatever, what do we have to do to get that motion in progress here so that we can give them a little more leverage?
Well, we need the right people. fighting for us, fighting for, right now, I steal your catalytic converter and I get stopped by the police. There's no way to prove where this catalytic converter came from. And these people, they steal them and then they sell them to iron businesses. Well, it's not against the law either to sell them or to buy them. Obviously it is if it's a stolen property, but the key is we got to prove that it was stolen. So easy on my end, harder probably for the vehicle manufacturers. It would be some type of identification number, just like a VIN, something like that. Now, I don't know how we would, even start that process. And also, it's a property crime, misdemeanor crime. And with COVID, there's not much we can do with, let's say they do get arrested, they're out by the time the paperwork is done. I mean, that's just unfortunately the way things are going right now. But so we're going to need somebody to have, so it could have teeth, a little bit of teeth with it as well, the punishment, because it's a non-person, it's a property crime. It's basically theft, maybe felony theft, depending on the vehicle age and what other damage. But it's just difficult to prove. We stopped many people on the streets on bicycles, in a car, and they have this stuff, but we don't know where it came from. And they're obviously not going to tell us where it came from. That'd be great, but that's not going to happen. So there's just a lot of little things like that would be more helpful. And catalytic converters, that's a hot crime right now. That's a hot topic.
Is that,
Hey, can I key in just for a second?
Yes.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Just to follow up with his question. The other thing that is out of our hands is these metal recycling places that buy a catalytic converter, buy it because of the precious metals that are inside of it. Like Tejeda said, there's no way to exactly tell as far as serial number, which vehicle they came off of. Now, someone can say, I got this off of a Ford truck, and it might be, similar to many others that come off a Ford truck, but that's about it. And really the only help we're getting from them is if somebody comes in and is acting suspicious, which we had this happen last week, and the guy has, I think, 3 or 4 converters he wants to sell, but he couldn't tell you where they came from. He didn't know it was my buddy's vehicle. I'm not sure. And his story changed. They turned him away. We didn't get there in time to find out who it was, identify him. But the bottom line is he can just go down the road to another place and they may not turn him away. And then we never know about it. It just becomes a report where somebody had something taken off their vehicle. And at that point, we try to follow it up with video or any other evidence left behind. So it definitely makes it tough for us.
what do we have to do possibly to have city council or somebody put something in place for these metal recyclers that?
Well, that's going to probably go above them, and that's actually been worked on in the sense of, and I don't want to misspeak here, but I think they're supposed to report numbers to the state AG or something like that, I believe. And then they investigate things that are in error there. So it's kind of above us or out of our jurisdiction. And I know Officer Fussell down south has kind of worked with them on some of that. And the last I heard is I want to say this correct, is maybe their opinion on how much of a big deal it is different from ours, if that makes sense. But so there's just things that as far as the metal recycling places, what they report and how they report it, are just out of our jurisdiction, if you will.
I just, with crime in general, my personal feeling, and this is just my personal feeling from what I observed, but I just don't think that the penalty is severe enough for a lot of these crimes that take place, that people don't think twice about it sometimes. I don't know, maybe they don't even care, even if the crime is, if the cost is bad enough, but I would think that these people that buy these used catalytic converters, they have to know that they more than likely have come from the wrong type of situation. And if we had something in place that they just understand, and maybe it is in place, they understand if we get caught taking this converter from you and it's proven that it's stolen, we got a fine that we can't afford to pay. So take your converter somewhere else. We don't want it.
Well, and I would agree with you. I think that might come down to a morality issue in this, in the company itself, but in last week's case, the company actually did the right thing. And I applaud them for it. It just doesn't always happen that way, I guess is the best way to say it. And I'll even say, I was going to touch on this. I hope I'm not cutting Tejeda off too far, but I have a business once again, on my beat, different business, but same sort of setup. And, last weekend they get hit with like 12 vehicles, and these are big commercial truck vehicles. Well, when I go in to do my follow-up, and I'm not, this is not blaming or pointing fingers, but I need help on their end as well, as far as their own security and not just leaving things out as candy, if you will. And I can just tell you that I get a lot of pushback, and it makes it hard for law enforcement, because then we're just basically trying to catch up to a report where the case happened 2 or 3 days prior, and no real help in prevention.
Pushback in what way?
Companies don't want to pay thousands of dollars to get a fence put up, or new camera systems, or better lighting, or something that may prevent any person just walking through their business at whatever time of night and having free access to slide underneath 20 vehicles. I tell the officers, and I know Tejeda has done the same. We're obviously want to mount active patrol in these places as their businesses are closed at night. We just can't be everywhere. So when we try to get things like that in place and they don't want to pay for it, I understand the cost is great. But I would think that so is replacing those catalytic converters, more than once every 6 months or whatever it may be. So,
I mean, is this something that an announcement, or maybe there has been one? I don't watch the local news much anymore, because I'm just, be honest with you, fed up with the news companies, and we won't go into all of that, but I don't know if there's some kind of a request that can be made to the public out there through the city to maybe have people that are out driving around.
That's something I think I can mention to our PIO officer and see if they can put it out. And they may have. I don't pretend to have every one of those announcements memorized, but I know me personally, I've talked to my businesses about it because I'm having to do the follow-up.
Well, after you discussing this tonight, I guarantee you and promise you that when I go by some of these lots that have a lot of vehicles on them, I'm going to be looking over there and seeing if I see any suspicious activity going on. I mean, the public's eyes helping out on this is one of the best things you guys can have going for you.
I absolutely agree.
But we have to get the word out there to all of us somehow.
Sure. Agree. I can maybe contact a PIO officer tomorrow and see if that's an announcement that can be made in the future.
And of course, we don't want anybody getting shot by these thugs or anything either, so they don't want to try.
Not at all. Not at all.
Yeah.
Tejeda, I'm sorry if I took too much of your time up. I just wanted to touch on that.
Well, you should be. I had a whole list of stuff. Now I can't go over it because of time. Dang it.
Well,
It was
you're
good
welcome
stuff.
then.
It was good stuff too. I had a couple homicides that I cleared and solved by myself, but
Okay.
no, let's not talk about that anymore.
I know
Whatever.
you too well.
No, I'm just teasing. Yeah, but it doesn't take long to steal a catalytic converter. Last week, a week and a half ago, Douglas and Seneca and Quick Trip parking lot in the middle of the day. Somebody on a bicycle rolled over there, and stole a catalytic converter in the parking lot. Rode
Oh.
off on a bicycle in the middle of the day.
Oh.
911 was called. We were unsuccessful in finding the knucklehead, but yeah, it doesn't take long. And if nobody knows what exactly they're looking for, meaning is he trying to fix something under the car? Is it his car? All that has to go through somebody's mind, and by that time, knucklehead is gone. So no, more eyes the better. Obviously, we need the help, and the 911 calls, but it's just a little bit of an uphill battle. Not the end of the world, but a little bit of an uphill battle. So, but that's it.
Well, there any other questions for Officer Tejeda, either from DAB or from the general public?
I just want to end with saying we love you guys and we appreciate everything you do for the community. Thank you
Thank
very much.
Thank
Thank
you. We appreciate that.
We
That
do.
helps.
Thank you.
That helps. Thank you.
Well, and I'll turn it over to Patrol South. I'm imagining, Officer Creighton, you're going to give that report.
Yeah, and I only had one more thing to talk about other than that. Actually, is stats are pretty good. Stats are pretty good, but last week and a half, we were tasked with. That was actually about a week and a half ago, going around trying to find some graffiti, and I had been noticing, and some of you may have noticed some telephone poles on corners of certain intersections. I would say along Seneca from McCormick clear down to 47th, same way with some places on Broadway and some places on Meridian as well, where someone has spray painted the words love. They're kind-hearted taggings. They're not gang related, but there's hearts and stuff, and they're usually on telephone poles. So I found like 22 of them.
Whoa.
So we started to address that. I went and counted them and sent them up to Public Works to try to get taken care of. And then if you do see that, just know that we are trying to identify who may be doing that. And I do have some cameras out in certain areas trying to see if I can find said person. But you see this markings and it makes you think kid, child, but
Middle school girl.
or have you seen them?
No.
No, well, you
That's what
can't
it
miss them.
sounds like, a
Usually
little
they're
girl.
on, there are some in between lights, but usually there'll be near a corner somewhere. And they're obviously in busy thoroughfares. So it's got to be happening at night. But that's the only other thing. If it was one or two, I wouldn't have even mentioned it. But the fact that it was kind of way more than I expected once I started driving around trying to find them, I thought I should bring it up. But we're in the process of trying to identify who that could be.
When I was on the commission briefly, I got 7 calls about that. I got more calls about that than anything else. Were the people running on the lightning?
To be completely honest, I saw 1 or 2 and I thought, I'm just going to drive up and down all these streets and start counting. And I could not believe that there was this many. So obviously somebody has had their way for too long.
Okay, well, are there any other questions from the DAB first for Officer Creighton? Okay, seeing none. Anybody from the general public? Okay, you got off easy.
Thank you.
Thanks for your report and appreciate all you do.
All right. Thank you. Have a good evening.
Okay. Moving on to the next report, we have from the Alfred Branch Library, and I saw Robin Belt was with us today. And so
Yes.
Robin, give a report from the library.
Yes, can you hear me okay?
Yep.
All right. So our checkout statistics for January were 2,924 items over at Alfred. All Wichita Public Library locations are still operating with the curbside and drive-up window service only. Customers are able to borrow materials by placing holds through the online catalog or by calling your branch location. Hold and transfer fees are waived at this time. We do not have public computing available right now, but we do have copy, print, and fax service at all locations. And then our digital collection is available 24/7 on Overdrive and Flipster, are 2 apps that you can put onto your phone. A quick reminder that the 2021 National Endowment of the Arts Big Read Wichita runs through Sunday, February 21st. We have a lot of great programming scheduled for the last few weeks of our annual community one book reading program. This year, we're reading Circe by Madeline Miller. So there's still a few weeks you can start the book if you haven't yet. The library has 3 ways to get books and movies while access to the collection is limited. So these are additional than just going into the catalog or giving us a call. These are personalized reading lists and viewing lists and early literacy grab bags. So customers fill out a quick form with reading and viewing preferences, and library staff curates a list of materials that you can borrow. Customers can then choose what they want, and we will place holds on the materials for customers to pick up at their preferred library locations. So basically, you let us know what you're interested in, and then we will gather recommendations that reflect that. And then my last item, the Dr. Ronald W. Walters Branch Library has opened for curbside service. Today was our first day. This new location is at 4195 East Harry, and it's the new home of the Linwood Park Branch Library. The library had outgrown the space at the Linwood Recreation Center. Its new home is twice the size and features many great amenities customers have grown accustomed to at the Advanced Learning Library. Virtual tours will soon be available online. And that's all that I have for tonight. Are there any questions?
I want to give a quick comment. I've read Circe twice, and I'm a huge fan. I would highly recommend it to everybody. And there's another book. All of her books are fantastic, but I was very happy that this was the book this year. So if you had any part in picking that, great job.
I wish I could take credit, but no, I don't get to pick that.
Well, thank you for your report. Any other questions from the general public? Hey, see none. Thank you, Robin.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, we'll move on to the public agenda portion of the agenda. There are no scheduled items on the public agenda, but is there anybody from the public that's wishing to speak at this time that's not speaking about one of the new business items later on in the agenda? Going once, twice. Okay, moving on. We will move on to new business. And the first item of business is the 2021 to 2022 funding for CDBG Home and ESG Award Grant. And I'll turn it over to Mark Stanberry with Housing Services. And Mark, the floor is yours. And thanks for being with us today.
Hey, well, thank you, Dalton. Appreciate that very much. Good evening, Council Member Blubaugh, members of the board. Nice to be able to spend some time with you this evening. We're just here to share a little information about the City of Wichita's entitlement grant program. Involves our federal funding components. And next slide, please. Okay, the city is an entitlement city, and as such receives an annual allocation of funding from the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development. And we utilize these funds to assist in creating a livable and sustainable community by developing activities that service to that end. Next slide, please. The 3 components of our entitlement grant program include the Community Development Block Grant Funds, or CDBG. These funds are very flexible uses of these funds and used for a wide variety of community development needs. The 2020 annual award was $2.9 million. We also have the Home Investment Partnerships Program. This program is all about affordable housing for income eligible households. Our award last year was $1.5 million. And then also we have the third component, which is the Emergency Solutions Grant, which is used to address homelessness, homeless shelters, funding for shelters, as well as homeless prevention activities. We'll talk about that in just a few moments. Our award amount for 2020 was $246,609. Next, please. Okay, our planning process involves a a 5-year consolidated plan. We just developed this plan for the 2019 program year. So now we are in what we are calling our third program year action plan. Annually, we develop an annual action plan for expenditure of the funds to be received for that year. Our plan is actually due to HUD on May 15th, 2021 for this year, and the program year will begin July 1st of 2021. Next, please. One thing that I wanted to mention this evening too was the federal government in passing the CARES Act. As a result of that, we received additional CDBG funding and ESG funding. We received 2 rounds of funding of community development block grant funds, one for about 1.7 million, one for about 1.9.5 million. We also received a total of about 3.3 million for emergency solutions grant funding. All of this funding had to be utilized to prepare for the coronavirus. For ESG, it had to be activities related to homelessness, and for community development block grant for community development activities. All of those funds have been allocated now. The deadline for the emergency solutions grant funding was December the 25th, actually, and then we have a little more time on the community development block grant. But a lot of our funding went to some of the agencies that we currently fund under both programs. As you can imagine, there were needs for additional cleaning services. Under homeless, we extended the emergency winter shelter with Humankind through, I believe it was April or May. And then also with the community development block grant funding, you might have heard about the 316 hotel acquisition with Humankind. That activity was funded as well. So we worked with a lot of agencies that we normally work with in order to meet some additional needs they had throughout this period of dealing with the coronavirus. Next, please. Okay, our timeline for our process in developing the annual action plan actually begins in November. We particularly in the years that we're developing a new consolidated plan, we gather public input and then lay the groundwork for developing the plan. We do that through the federal integrated disbursement and information system, creating the plan within that environment for HUD to review. In January, we go about appointing the grants review committee, and we also issue requests for proposals. And the requests for proposals are issued for community development block grant funding, for youth activities, and also for domestic violence shelter activities as well. In February, we will be meeting with the Grants Review Committee to review proposals and for the committee to make funding recommendations. And then staff will, after that occurs, staff will develop a preliminary spending plan. And I might mention Dalton is on board this evening. He will be your representative for DAB 4 on the Grants Review Committee this year. Next, please. In March and April of 2021, we'll have a 30-day comment period on the third year annual action plan. This will make this available on the city's website. We also make some hard copies available when appropriate through the community centers and also the library branches as well. In May, we'll make an appearance before the city council for the council members to review the spending plan and approve it so that we can submit the plan to HUD by May the 15th. And then on July 1st, our program year will begin. Next, please. Community Development Block Grant program, just talk about it first. We have as I mentioned before, it's a very flexible program. We can fund a wide variety of activities. Typically what you'll see in community development block grant is economic development activities, also public facilities and improvements, housing needs, and also public services. Next, please. CDBG activities must meet a national objective, and there are three. One is to benefit low to moderate income. Another is to prevent slum or blight. And then the third is to address urgent community needs. And typically that's urgent community needs involves a disaster declaration of some sort. So we don't have that happen very often. So most of our activities typically benefit low to moderate income or prevent slum and blight. One thing I've heard it described as far as the CDBG program is concerned is it's kind of like a two-sided coin. First, you have to meet a national objective, and then the activity has to be eligible as well. So you must use the funding for an eligible activity. And then finally, not less than 70% of our spending must benefit low to moderate income persons. Next, please. One other consideration for CDBG is there is a limit on the public service activities. Typically, it's a percentage of the grant, but the City of Wichita has been grandfathered at the level of $1,163,310 for public service activities. And we'll talk about those in just a moment, what's involved there. Also, we can fund activities undertaken by other departments under an MOU or through what we call subrecipients through a request for proposals process. And finally, funds cannot be allocated to a specific provider for any kind of ineligible purpose. Next, please. Some of the activities that we've undertaken in the past and currently involved infrastructure improvements in low to moderate income neighborhoods, also opportunity zones or what we call our high priority funding areas. There's also park improvements that we funded in the past. Also economic development activities. Currently, we're funding what we call a facade improvement program to assist businesses that serve low-income neighborhoods with improvements to the exteriors of their buildings as part of an effort to improve neighborhood appearance and also to assist those business owners that do serve low-income populations. We also have our home repair program. I have responsibility for that. We do provide forgivable loans for owner-occupant homeowners to assist them with things like installation of furnaces and replacement of sewer service lines or water service lines, things that are typically expensive, and a lot of low-income households do not have money available to take care of those types of needs. We serve about 170 homeowners annually through that program. Then we also have the Metropolitan Area Building and Construction Department demolition and clearance activity. This is an activity that involves the slum and blight national objective, and this money is made available to MABCD in connection with properties where the City Council has deemed it necessary to condemn a blighted home, vacant home that's become a blight on the neighborhood or has become dangerous to individuals in the neighborhood as well. Next, please. Also continuing with CDBG, and these are some of the public service activities that I mentioned. We do provide funding for the Office of Community Services, specifically for the community services representatives at Atwater and Evergreen and also at Colvin. We provide funding for the salary of our Housing First project coordinator. This is a program that serves the chronically homeless by moving them into housing and that program is funded through the city's general fund and also the county's general fund, but we utilize CDBG funding to provide salary and benefits for the staff person that oversees that program. Then there's also, as I mentioned, domestic violence shelter services. We typically work with Harbor House, Stepstone, and Wichita Family Crisis Center. We've funded over the past years. Also, youth crime prevention and enrichment. This is a middle school after-school program where we provide funding in the past to YMCA, also Big Brothers Big Sisters. We've funded Mental Health Association for an activity, as well as Real Men, Real Heroes. We also fund our TWTW program, The Way to Work. This assists children from low-income households that we serve through public housing, and also our Housing Choice Voucher program by assisting them to obtain employment over the summer. And so this past summer, I believe we served about 93 youth. It was a little bit different with the environment we were working within with COVID-19. Next slide, please. Next component is the Home Investment Partnerships Program. Next, please. Through this program, we provide funding for home ownership activities. We provide down payment and closing costs loans for owner-occupant home buyers who are purchasing homes through some of the organizations that we work with to provide development subsidies, such as Mennonite Housing, Wichita Habitat for Humanity, Residential Housing Solutions, Power CDC, and also Jacob's Ladder. I mentioned these housing development subsidy funding activities. We do that through our housing development loan program, and also through our community housing development organization set aside funding. These are community housing development organizations are a special kind of nonprofit, and I'll talk about them in just a moment. But we also provide some operating support funding for those organizations as well, which is an eligible use of home funds. And then, of course, for administration here, for monitoring and administering the activities, creating the funding agreements and overseeing to the activities to make sure they're being undertaken in an eligible way. Next, please. For the CHODO set-aside activity, staff issues applications for community housing development organizations set-aside funding along with the RFPs for the Emergency Solutions Grant and CDBG activities. Funding must be utilized for the development of affordable housing. Next. Just for a moment about what we call CHODOs, it's an acronym, Community Housing Development Organization. They must have legal and tax exempt status. They have to be incorporated. They must have financial management capacity and also accountability, and must have capacity and experience to undertake the activity that they're proposing. So when applications come in, we are typically familiar with these organizations, but we do require them to provide resumes so we can make certain that the staff that they have on board is qualified to undertake the activity. They also have to have experience in serving the community, and there has to be community representation on the board. 1/3 of their board must be members of low-income communities or representatives, elected representatives of low-income neighborhood associations. And again, CHODOs exist, their primary purpose of existence is to develop affordable housing. Mennonite Housing is a CHODO, and so is Jacob's Ladder and Power CDC as well. Next program is Emergency Solutions Grant. Next, please. This program is all about serving the homeless. We can provide funding for shelters, for rehabilitation of shelters or actual staffing of the shelters, up to a 60% cap of the grant. There's also homeless prevention. We've in the past, we've funded Salvation Army and Center of Hope for this activity. Through this program, we can assist individuals who are under threat of eviction and under threat of losing their housing with temporary rent assistance and utilities assistance as well. Rapid rehousing is for individuals who are literally homeless. They are in a shelter, and this is to quickly rehouse them and try to end their period of homelessness. Also, we have administration for what we call the Homeless Management Information System. This is a system where outcomes are tracked for the funding we provide through the program, and all of the organizations that we fund have access to this. Next, please. Shelter services, as I mentioned, that includes shelter operations and what they call essential services, and also rehabilitation of homeless shelter facilities, and then again, homeless prevention, short-term rent and utilities assistance for families and individuals who are at threat of eviction and in immediate danger of homelessness. Next, please. Finally, what we're asking tonight is any input that you might have regarding our funding program, and what activities you feel like might be of the highest priority, what might be of the lowest priority. If we have funding that, if we receive an increase in funding, and we do anticipate a slight increase this year, if we do see that, we're looking for some feedback on what types of activities that you might want to see. We don't really have any urgent needs at this time other than the COVID-19, the needs that have emerged from that, but we've already received the CARES Act funding for those activities. One thing that we're looking at in this next program year that I might mention is funding for a land banking initiative. A land bank is a mechanism to acquire and hold property, clear title, and so forth. This would be properties that people might donate, or properties that are going to tax foreclosure. Sometimes you have properties that individuals are looking to donate, but there might be a lien on the property for some reason. You can hold it in this land bank for a period of time in order to clear the title, and the purpose of that is to make the property available for activities that meet the needs of the community. One thing that the land bank has also addressed, you might have heard of the Places for People program, and or plan rather, and so land banks are mentioned in there as far as something that we might pursue. Hopefully to make some properties available for activities, again, that meet the needs of the community, not necessarily to the highest bidder for the property, but someone who's willing to undertake some activities that actually provide for some community improvement. This is being looked at for what is referred to as the established central area and the people Places for People plan. I believe that's Rock Road on the east is one boundary, Ridge Road on the west, and then up to 29th Street on the north, and then I-235 on the south. So pretty large area there where these properties could be made available. So with that, that concludes my presentation. I'd be happy to answer any questions that any of you might have about our program.
Are there any questions from anybody on the DAB? Seeing none, is there anybody from the general public? Mark, your presentation was so well done that there's no questions. So thank you for your time tonight.
Okay, well, thank you, Dalton. And
Wait. I actually have a comment.
oh, certainly.
Okay. Well, as you know, because I dragged you into it last year, the situation around West High School.
Yes.
And so I did send one of your coworkers today the estimates on getting some repairs done for that area. So we feel, I know that Councilman Blubaugh and I both feel that it's important because West High School is trying very hard to instill pride into their students and to take pride in their neighborhood. And so anything that we can do to help bring that area up into a better condition would be much appreciated. So I just want to
Certainly.
let the DAB members know that Councilman Blubaugh and I have been working with them for several months now. And so hopefully we're going to, keep seeing some progress.
Well, we hope so too. We do have some funding available for rental properties through our rental housing rehabilitation program. We can assist through that. We also have our home repair program that we can make available in the area, and some revolving loan programs for housing needs that might exceed our normal $5,000 limit under the home repair program. And,
that home repair program is awesome. I cannot say enough good things about that program.
well, thank you. We appreciate that very much.
Multiple residents out and that are kind of just, squeaking by, and then all of a sudden disaster strikes. And I know that you helped one of our residents with collapsed sewer line.
Oh,
And,
great.
yeah. So anyway.
Well, glad to hear that. Glad to hear that for sure.
Uh-huh.
So I do like the home repair program. I'll talk that up every chance I can get. We do assist a lot of people. We assist a lot of elderly people, and we're just glad we have the funding available to do that. So thank you.
Hey, Mark.
Yes.
Hey, I apologize. I had to step away from the computer for just a little bit. Just a quick question. And you're covering everything. Does all of this just pertain to housing stuff, or was there something in there that pertains to recreation in any of this funding?
Oh, yes. I would think that would probably be the funding that we provide for the middle school after school youth program. That would be one example of that. I know we assist YMCA. They have some after school activities, I think, that involve some recreation. We've also provided some funding for Colvin, for the Parks Department, specifically for Colvin Elementary, to provide some after school programming there as well, specifically. In the past, we've provided some funding for park improvements. It just depends on what our funding levels are. Over the last several years, our funding has declined somewhat, but those would be some examples where we've provided some funding that assists with some recreation.
So like lighting.
Go ahead.
Lighting on, say, pickleball courts in the city parks, or maybe converting some tennis courts over to pickleball. It's becoming such a hot item. Are there any funds in all of this that would be allowed to be allocated towards that, or no?
Well, it's possible. Generally, when we provide funding for public facilities and park improvements, they have to. It's something that's done on what we call an area-wide qualifying basis, meaning that we look at the neighborhoods that surround the project, try to project what a service area might be for those activities, and they also have to fund. It has to be a type of facility or improvement that is available to everyone. A lot of times you can make that case for a park. There's typically benches, everyone can enjoy the green space, the playground equipment for children. So normally you have to have something that assists everyone or is available to everyone. Has to be of service to everyone, and has to be, of course, in an area that meets the test for a low mod area on an area-wide basis.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
My question was, is this the funding that was used for turning the hotel into the homeless residences?
Well, part of it was the CARES Act funding that we received. That was special funding that came in last year, and that's what we utilized for the 316 hotel on North
That's a good
Topeka. I
idea.
think that's what you're referring to.
Yes.
And we used the CARES Act CDBG funding. They will be rehabilitating the building to turn it into affordable housing. And then we also provided some support funding through the CARES Act ESG funding to assist them in providing shelter services here through July.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I have a question. Do you, are there programs under this funding that are cleanup programs, just general trash cleanup?
At one point in time in the past, that was funded, and where we did neighborhood cleanups, I think you're referring to. And then the program was redesigned, and I'm not exactly sure how that ended up. I think some neighborhood organizations, Becky, you might have a little more information on this, but maybe I should let you address how that's happening. We used to do that with the CDBG funding, and it's one of those activities that we ceased funding just due to the amount of grant funds that we had coming in declining over the years. But yeah.
Miss Robertson read my mind.
Okay.
Because I am in charge of all the neighborhood cleanups, and that money, although last year we had a lot of cancellations, understandably so, and so we did not go over the budget, but the last 2 years prior to 2020, we went over budget, and that money is coming from the fees collected at Brooks Landfill. Is what is paying for the neighborhood cleanups.
The reason I brought it up is it just seems like there's a lot, maybe it's just me noticing it more, but there just seems to be a lot of trash just in alleyways, along the streets, highways, byways, everything. And I understand that I, as a personal citizen, need to clean up my area, but when people don't do that, then where's the responsibility for that? And is there a city department? Are there organizations that do this? I don't know. I go to work downtown, and that flyover area is just gotten worse and worse and worse.
Well, a lot of it, I agree. And a lot of it has to do with the organizations that usually work on, river cleanup and those types of public areas. None of that happened in 2020. And yeah, because I know a lot of the council were getting emails about, we need to do something about that. Well, the people that were calling, I was like, you're more than welcome to get your trash bag and go out and pick it up, because all of the groups were not participating last year. So we're just keeping our fingers crossed that we can get this virus under control, and that we don't have cleanup cancellations and group cancellations. And
so, Becky, if a group or organization does do a cleanup and gets 2 truckloads of trash, who pays, or where is that dumped, and who pays?
Oh, well, parks will send people out to pick those up.
Okay.
Generally, parks will, and if for whatever reason, boundaries, I don't know, I can get Public Works to go pick it up.
Okay.
Yeah, so anybody can tell me. I know that there was a woman just to get exercise was picking up trash along the river. And Parks empties all of the waste that's along the river paths and everything. So she would just like fill up these trash bags and leave them there next to the path, and Parks would come through and pick them up and dispose of them.
Good to know.
Yeah, so it's a problem. I know one time the group I'm in, we had talked about a campaign, Pick It Up Wichita. And we, came up with the name. We were working on a logo. And to tell you the truth, I'm not sure what happened. I guess COVID happened. We had other things to worry about. So yeah, meanwhile, there's areas of town that really need some cleanup help. So thanks for bringing that up. I appreciate it.
Are there any other questions for Mark? Okay, Mark, I think you're off the hook. Thank you for
All
joining
right.
us. And
Okay, well, thank you. Thank you so much for your time this evening. I appreciate it.
Yep, take care.
You too.
We'll move on to the next agenda item. It's actually going to be the next 4, but we'll have to do each one individually and vote on them.
Duplexes.
Yes, June.
I was just gonna say duplexes, lots and lots of duplexes.
So Kathy Morgan, who's a senior planner with the Metropolitan Area Planning Department, will present all the cases. And we'll just start with case number 40. Kathy?
Yes. Thank you. I hope you all are having a good Monday evening. Conditional use 2020-40 is located at West Maple and let's see, hold on here. It's south of Meridian, 1825 West Maple. And this is a house that has previously or originally started out as a children's home under the Kansas Children's Service League and operated that way until around 1970. So this is a conditional use is required for this type of group residence within a single family residential zoning district. There's not going to be, as I said, this was previously used for that type of activity. So there's not going to be a lot of changes made to the structure. In your staff report, it shows they have a site plan for the property where, there's going to be limited parking needed because these, the children ages 12 through 17, they can take some as low as ages as low as I want to say 6, but I'm not sure about that. Maybe Ken can help us with that. I saw he was on the line. But this is going to be a minimum or a maximum rather of 6 school-age children, and they'll have 2 full-time staff members on site. So by definition, these foster care children will not be driving. So the amount of cars generated by this use is going to be limited. This case was heard by the Planning Commission on the 21st of January. We did have some discussion at the Planning Commission. There was one neighbor that spoke regarding the use. He has since been in contact, and I don't know if Clarence is on the line with us tonight or not, Clarence Sponsel, but they resolved between he and Ken. There you go, there's the site plan. Between he and Ken and the real estate agents, they've got everything resolved, so they no longer have any concerns about this. And so you can see on the left side there, that's the front of the structure, and that's north. And so on the right side, there's an alley. And then there's parking spaces back there. There's an existing concrete slab back there. This would be a good opportunity. And I think, this was discussed by the applicant that they would like to get the church that's across the street, maybe even some students from Friends University, neighbors that would help mentor these children that are fostering in this location. So staff had recommended approval of the conditional use. The Planning Commission voted to support the recommendation. We are in that 14-day protest period, which will end this Thursday at 5 p.m. on February 4th. If we receive no protests regarding this case, then the action of the Planning Commission would be final. If we do have protests, then it will get sent along to the Wichita City Council for final final approval. So with that, I'll be happy to answer any questions.
Question. Is it possible to reduce the parking requirements for this so that there is more space for children to play as opposed to just parking? If you only have 2 or 3 staff, there's no reason to have 8 spaces.
Well, it's they would have to apply for a variance to do that because we can only reduce. It's another step in filing another application. We can only reduce by an administrative adjustment 20%. So that kind of limits it. There is the applicant, and maybe he can answer this better. They do have space for some of those items, and this does provide some measure. The parking there along the alley does provide some measure of security for the kids that can play out in the backyard there, or have outside activities there. So that wasn't part of the consideration to reduce the parking.
I would agree with her that if there's going to be that many children in there at that age, it looks like maybe a larger area for them to have to enjoy the outdoors there. Also, would this property not fall into what Mark was just discussing and possibly have some funds available for them to do a play area out there or whatever, or no?
I would think not, and just because this is the operation, the people operating, the business operating the foster care do get money from the Department of DFC, so they do get some remuneration, and so I don't know that would strictly fit some of the requirements of the CDBG monies. Plus, this is on a private lot and wouldn't be accessible by the general public.
I have a comment, and Dalton might be aware of it too. And Ken can probably verify it, or Claire. If I remember right, this place is huge. This structure is huge, and it used to be a bed and breakfast, and it went up for sale. I just happened to remember it because somebody I knew was looking for a house in Delano, and she said, "Oh, that place is huge. It used to be a bed and breakfast." So she wasn't interested in it. Is that correct, Ken or Claire?
Right, and maybe I can speak up a little bit. It's great listening to the conversations that you're having. We've gone through a lot of similar situations where we realize that the students and the kids do need backyard space to play. We do have the long driveway that goes from the street all the way to the alley. for 2 parking cars, and then side by side to pull off 2 more spaces. The backyard is completely fenced, even that cement pad that goes all the way to the back. And so what we're looking across the backside is possibly gates, because we don't anticipate needing to use the parking for cars, because as Kathy Morgan said, the kids don't own cars and drive cars. However, that would open up that parking space area for them to get in the back, if they want to play ball or something like that. It would be fenced, it would be safe, and that's something that we are looking at.
Are you talking the areas to the south there, or up where the cursor's pointing right now?
Where the cursor is pointing right now is outside of the fence, and it's right adjacent to the to the driveway. And so the 2 on the driveway plus then 2 where the cursor was, those are not part of the fenced area.
Yeah, it's the 4 spaces that, yes, those 4.
Right.
Those are within the fence there?
Right, they
Yes.
are. And what we're going to be doing is they will have gate access. So it's private. So anytime we do need the parking, it's still available, completely up to code. But what we wanted was to make sure that the fenced backyard was still there, just to keep the students within a private area. And it's a privacy fence.
So you're saying there's a fence running along the north side of that alley,
Yes.
butting up to the property with some
Yes.
gates in there if they need to open that up for parking?
Yes.
Okay, yeah, that's pretty good.
Okay,
And
I have
there's-
a comment too. Okay,
Yeah.
okay. So as a middle school, high school teacher, if these kids start at age 13, when you want areas to play, we're not talking swing sets. They'll want a basketball goal, and they'll be able to make real good use of that cement pad. Maybe a picnic table to sit on and talk. But I think having the parking area there is actually going to help be an advantage for the kids, not a disadvantage.
Thank you.
Yeah, I would agree if it's all part of the accessible area to the kids there within the fence. Yeah, that's great.
Like Becky was saying, it's a massive building when you drive on Maple, and so I'm glad that it's being put to good use. So thank you, Ken, and your team for figuring out a use for it that I think will add to the neighborhood. I live about 2 streets over on Millwood, and so I am looking forward to this being an addition to the neighborhood, and I think it's a good.
Hey, Dalton, can I ask what Clarence Sponsel's concern was on all this?
Yes, if Kathy, do you have that information?
And probably Claire and Ken can chime in on this, because the concern was, there's a lot of confusion between what people view foster children or any kind of group residence as a facility for troubled children. And so there was concern about that it might create some problems within the neighborhood with the residents getting into mischief in the neighborhood. And these are children that will get placed with the assistance of the schools and children that are just being taken out of the home because they have a bad home situation until those kind of things can get straightened out. So these kids are not under what we would consider a court order type situation where they have to be located there because they've been in trouble or whatever. So that was one of the things. And so I think the fencing around the backyard area, that alleviated some of the concern. And Ken or Claire, I will let you maybe address that further, since I know, Ken, you had spoken with Mr. Sponsel about this.
Sure. And actually, Claire, if you would start, Claire has a background with him and did really well kind of talking through his concerns. And so, Claire.
Okay. As a realtor, I knew Clarence and Carol and Jeff, of course. But when they were were speaking, they were concerned also about parking in the streets and accountability. And I called Clarence after the Planning Commission meeting. He just laughed and said, I knew you'd be calling. I said, well, Ken wanted me to give you his mobile phone. He would love to talk to you about any concerns you have. I explained Ken's background. He's been a teacher, a principal, and then an administrator. He's been very involved. I met him probably 20 years ago through KCSL, Kansas Children's Service League, when we were both doing volunteer work there. I think that helped a lot. And I just explained again, like Kathy did, these are not court-ordered children, not necessarily children that have had any difficulty, except their home life was not safe. And of course, everyone will be working on getting them back to a stable home life. And Clarence was very supportive of foster care in general. And I think once he talked with Ken and they established a good rapport, Ken will be available to answer any questions, solve any problems. He lives about 10 minutes away and would be happy to be called day or night. I think that alleviated a lot of Clarence and Carol's concerns. He did then call Ken and they had a nice conversation. Ken, do you want to take over?
Sure. I'm going to tell Dalton the same thing that I told Clarence was, you can have my phone number. I want people to call. If there's something going on, I'm the kind of person, working in the school district, you need to be proactive as opposed to reactive. And so working with the kids, we know that they come from homes that might not be the most stable. They were pulled because of that. So their backgrounds are a little bit tougher, maybe than the normal student, but they're also the kind of kid that needs stability. And when you start to provide stability within a home, you teach them how to do, stick to the homework after school, possibly Friends University, having students that we can bring in, or cooking the meals, as a group in a group setting. Those are the things that self-care will help them as citizens in the future to keep them off of welfare, to help them to get jobs and maintain the jobs and be less of a burden on society. So that's my goal. That's what I've seen in the district. These kids are definitely possible to work with and help train and teach them the work study skills, even though they are at an older age.
Well, it looks like a great setup. And so I just wondered what he had concerns about. Thank you.
Thank you, Grant. Are there any other questions for Ken, Claire, or Kathy? Anybody from the public?
I didn't catch what the organization was that is running the foster care home.
This is just me. I have other rental property in the district in Wichita. I live in Riverside, but this one was a bit of a jump, to be honest. I've been retired for 2 years and I kind of reached the point where I was looking for a project, and this one I saw the property and I thought that is too big for that area not to be used really well. And so that's how I jumped on that one.
Good. Good for you.
It's really nice. I mean, these kids are going to love those residents.
It's huge. It's nicely kept. We're getting a new roof. We're getting the front doors taken care of. We'll get some landscaping going on, but it's very well kept, and we want to make sure to ensure that.
And who is it that will be overseeing the kids?
At this point, it's we're looking at a social worker situation.
Okay.
Someone who is with the students as well as live in support. It could fluctuate. It doesn't have to be this particular person. In the past, I've had requests for a girls' foster home, and this used to be a girls' foster home just more recently, which is kind of interesting. But I've had requests from phone calls for rental property for that. I've also had families moving in with their own foster care kids, and the whole number, their family plus the kids, was too much for, say, a 3 or 4 bedroom house. And so this allows everyone to have their own room, their own space, and still stay within the fire codes and everything else.
Well, I hope it all works out great for you. It's a neat idea and looks like a great location, a great property. So best of luck with everything.
Thank you, Grant.
Any other questions? Okay, seeing none, is there a motion to approve the application, the request of the application?
I'll make that motion.
Okay, Grant with the motion. Is there a second to that?
Second it.
I think that was June. All in favor, say aye or wave your hand.
Aye.
Okay, all opposed, the same sign. Seeing none, the motion passes. And we'll move on to zoning 47. Kathy, back to you.
Okay. Again, this case was heard by the Planning Commission on January 21st. There were no people from the public that provided input on this. If you look at the staff report on the second page, the recommendations for staff, and quite frankly, we've done so many of these, I can't quite remember, but one of the things that we've been doing is in conjunction with the Places for People infill plan, of which this property is located, is we've been adding protective overlays that give some architectural controls and how the design, overall design of the building fits into the neighborhood. And so you can see that we do have a protective overlay that will be recorded in conjunction with this zone change. Can you go to maybe the site plan, to the maps? I can't remember if they had a site plan in here. No, they didn't. They didn't, but staff recommended with the protective overlay that this would be appropriate for this vacant lot infill, and the Planning Commission passed it unanimously. They just heard it on their consent agenda. As I said, this is typical of what we've been doing in the central area neighborhoods. So with that, I will answer any questions. Oh, and again, the protest period will end on February 4th. If we receive no protests, then this will go to the City Council for final action on their consent agenda. If we receive protests to a certain percentage, 20% of the area, the valid protest area, then it would go to the non-consent agenda for the City Council, and they would have to approve it by a 6 of 7 votes.
Okay. Are there any questions for Kathy about this proposal? Okay, seeing none. Is there anybody from the public that has any concerns, questions? Okay, I'll entertain a motion to approve application 47 as presented.
This is I'll make that motion.
I think I heard Laura, and so is there a second? I think I heard Alex. So is there a second, Alex?
Yes, this is Alex. I'll make a second on that.
Fantastic. All in favor, say aye or raise your hand.
Aye.
All opposed, the same sign. Motion passes. Kathy, we're back to you with application 51.
Okay, this is another current zoning is single family residential. It is, Becky, can you go to the staff report with the site location slide? Oh, okay. This is located on South Seneca. and it is immediately adjacent to an existing TF3, a duplex development. Here again, it's within the infill area, and we are recommending, the staff recommended approval of this property. It's, it's, like I said, it's off Seneca. They would have to do, provide a drainage plan, that type of thing, show where the streets are going to be. But this supports the infill that we're trying to maintain within the city. I believe that Will Clevenger is on the line, or he was on the line. And again, the Planning Commission approved this unanimously. So I will answer any questions that anybody has.
Are there any
Where's this-
questions?
Where's this located at?
Okay, it's just north of 55th Street, on the west side of the street of Seneca. The address, let's see, it's almost 1,000 feet north of West 55th Street. The address is 5507 South Seneca. So it's a big vacant, it's almost 4 3/4 acres.
So you're
And it's
talking
just-
55th Street South?
Yes, did I say north? I'm sorry.
Yes.
Yes, 55th Street South.
Okay. So we had something a couple of meetings ago that were right in that area.
Yes, you had the, was it Sycamore Pond at 50th and Seneca, where they were requesting to change the some of the lots in there from single family residential to duplex.
Right.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, it's just south of there and on the opposite side of the street.
Okay.
And there
thank
is no development in there. I think there's a house, a couple of houses to the north. But as I said, immediately to the south is a duplex subdivision.
Fit right in.
Any other questions?
Kathy, do you mind if I pipe in here real quick?
Absolutely not.
The case you just mentioned, I believe that was just one board member that made that recommendation. And I think at the council, since we didn't get that feedback from the community, we went ahead and we didn't make them put so many single family structures in there because the land had been setting for years non-developed. So we didn't want to put them in that position. Are we talking about the same case?
No. This is different, Councilmember Bluebaugh. This has not been platted into lots. It's just an undeveloped 7 3/4 acre tract. And they want to, like I said, they want to do a duplex subdivision there, and it's immediately adjacent to a developed duplex subdivision. So the other one had the duplex zoning that they wanted was to the back of the subdivision itself. The lots were at the back, at the east end of the subdivision. So little bit different here.
Okay. I thought it was the case that you were referencing there. Okay, my
No,
apologies.
Sorry.
Any questions? Any questions from the public? See,
Does
go.
Does Will Clevenger have anything to add if he's still on?
Good evening, everybody. This is Will Clevenger with Garver on behalf of the applicant. Kathy, I think you said it very well. We're going to be proposing a subdivision plat here coming off of Seneca, but we have not submitted that yet. So at this point, we're just requesting the zone change, and I'd be happy to answer any other questions anybody has.
Any questions? Seeing none, is there a motion to approve the application?
I'll make that motion. This is Alex.
Okay, is there a second?
This is Laura. I'll second.
Okay, fantastic. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Or wave your hand.
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, all opposed, the same sign. Okay, the motion passes. We'll move on to the last application of the day, and that's zoning 52, and back to Kathy.
Okay, so this is another duplex zoning request. It's about 13 acres. This is on Meridian. It's south of MacArthur on the this should be on the east side of South Meridian. I think the description is incorrect. It's located, there's a manufactured housing subdivision that's just to the east. I'm sorry, yes, to the east. And then there's a private athletic facility on the north side. The applicants want to use basically it's the eastern 2/3 of that vacant tract of land for the duplex development, and keep the front part of that for single family residential development. And so, again, it's the same kind of deal. At this point, Meridian is a 5-lane arterial with a dedicated center turn lane. They have the availability of the utilities to be extended into the development. And I think probably will. I think that they'll be platting this once the zoning change has been approved. And again, Planning Commission approved this. I have not had any public comments regarding this case. So it presumably will go on the Wichita City Council consent agenda. And I'll answer any questions that you may have.
Are there any questions? I don't believe there's anybody from the public left on the call. And so seeing none, is there a motion to approve the application?
I'll make a motion to approve it. That's Grant.
Okay, is there a second? Is there a second?
This is Laura. I'll second.
Okay, fantastic. All in favor of approving the application as presented, say aye or wave your hand.
Aye.
Okay. All opposed, the same sign. Fantastic. Motion passes. Kathy, thank you for joining us today.
You're
And,
welcome. I'm sure you'll see us the 1st of March, more than likely.
Okay.
You guys have a good evening.
Well,
Thanks,
thank you,
Kathy. You too.
So before we move on to the board agenda, just for good measure, now that we do have a quorum at the start, when we approved the agenda and the minutes, we didn't have a quorum. So just so we don't have to go back and do that at the next meeting, or that nobody raises a stink about it, let's go back and retroactively approve the agenda, make sure somebody doesn't want to add anything to it. And so is there a motion to approve the agenda as presented earlier this evening?
I'll make a motion that we approve the agenda that was discussed earlier.
Okay, is there a second?
This is Alex. I'll second that.
Fantastic. All in favor, say aye.
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 All opposed, the same sign. And motion passes. We'll do the same thing with the minutes as well. The minutes that were sent out to everybody via email and then also voted on earlier. So is there a motion to approve the minutes as presented?
I'll move.
That motion again, Ms. Grant?
Okay, so I think we have a motion and then there's second from June.
Yes.
Okay,
I'll second.
awesome. All in favor, say aye.
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 Oppose the same.
Aye.
Oh, sorry. Okay, all opposed, the same sign. Seeing none, the motion passes as well. So we'll move on to the board agenda. First off, thank you for letting me do this tonight, and I appreciate all the comments. And I know Becky had briefly mentioned as well as just keep praying for Mike and his family during this time as well. So are there any comments from anybody on the board or Councilmember Bluebow?
Thank you very much, Dalton, and thanks for chairing the meeting. I think our COVID numbers are finally starting to level off a little bit. You know, there's lots of fears out there of other strains coming through, and you know, do we have the right protection with the mask and everything? So hopefully, we're still headed in the right direction. Still got a lot of things important to the city right now. The people, the places. You're seeing all the zoning cases tonight. I think that's very exciting because that shows that people are out there trying to put deals together. There's a lot of opportunities out there for real estate, for businesses to growth. Still a lot of people out of work right now, and got to do whatever we can to get folks working out there. If anyone's been following the city council, the ethics policy has been a big point of discussion, and want to clarify it a little bit from my standpoint. Do we need a little stronger ethics policy? Sure. You know, regardless of what you hear, the type of ethics issues that people are most worried about is the pay for play. I'll say I've been on the council for 8 years. I really haven't experienced that. I will say when there's been someone that's come up in an ethical situation and the public's kind of scratching their head on it, whether the person did the right deal, it seems like they're no longer in office. So it seems like whatever it is, karma or public perception, it seems to push those people outside of that elected office. And the biggest thing I will say is I never want to take away the power of the voters. When the issues came up with Councilmember Clendenin, I made it clear that District 3 elected him, and I felt like it should be up to that group to unelect him. I feel the same way myself. If there was an ethical issue that I was questioned on, I feel like the only people that should push me out of the office are representatives of the district that voted me in. So we've got to have a fair ethical program. We can't have a program or a policy that was written by one person. Right now, the mayor is the one that's written his own ethics policy. You know, one thing I learned in the ethics classes I was in my bachelor's and master's programs is it's usually teams of people. You know, inclusion and diversity are such a big word. A big buzzword right now. I don't see how any one person can write an ethics policy without reaching out there and make sure we're hearing all voices. There's been another issue that's come up about the mayor's PAC. I don't think the mayor's wife's PAC, technically they're a married couple. It's his PAC as well. I do not believe that should be exempted from policy. I think the public wants to know where all dollars are coming in to a council member or the mayor, whether it be through a PAC, whether it be through the campaign donations, whether it be from somebody buying them lunches or taking them on trips. We keep hearing about somebody taking people on trips. I really have not seen that on my 8 years in the council as well, but it's good that we have some good guidelines and rules. So I think right now where the policy discussion is, the county's got a pretty good policy that we're hearing about. It came from the state. I think we're going to take the county's policy as well as the mayor's policy and get it out to the district advisory boards. It'll probably be March before you guys get that. And we need to have the public input on this. The public's only had this for about a week. The mayor's been working on it for about a year, but I think it's time that the public took a look at it and see if you think that that's the rules that you want your council member or mayor to be living up to. So it's important, but there's a lot of other important things in our city that we need to focus on as well.
Well, Jeff, I really appreciate your effort on all that, very much so. And I was kind of embarrassed, or you guys maybe were kind of embarrassed to have papers flying and everything. I thought we were kind of in the middle of the State of the Union speech again or something.
That
Crazy.
kindergarten.
Yeah, I've never seen anything like that before on the council, and I understand people lose their cool, but I hope that's a one-time thing, because in the middle of a pandemic, in the middle of trying to get people back to work, nobody wants to turn on their TV. And as my 6-year-old asked me, Daddy, why is somebody throwing papers at you? Nobody wants to see that.
Well, it's too bad that it happened, but
There any other comments from everybody on the DAB? Okay, seeing none, is there a motion to adjourn?
This Alex, I'll make that motion.
Fantastic. I'm not for sure if it needs a second by Robert's Rules Order, but anyway, let's do a second. Okay, all in favor, say aye.
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 Okay, fantastic. I don't think there's anybody opposed. So thank you for tonight. Hope you guys have a great week. And Becky, you're fantastic as always. Thanks for all your help today.
Good to see your faces.
Thanks, Dalton. Thanks, everyone.
See you.
Have a great month.